I'm Mindy Wyke, and this is Work in Progress. It's a podcast where we will be talking all about human development in tech. In the tech world, WIP stands for Work in Progress. It's often used for pull requests, merge requests, and sometimes even technical documentation that is still in draft mode. It's not quite finished yet. And let's be real, we are not quite finished. Humans are always in draft mode. This podcast is about the real, the messy, the human side of working in tech. I'll be talking with engineers, but also designers, product folks, customer support, coaches, and people from all over the tech world about what they are learning about, struggling with, building, and becoming. But ultimately, we are not here to showcase perfection. We're here to normalize growth, share stories, and remind each other that being a work in progress is exactly where we are supposed to be. So let's commit to curiosity and jump into it. Hello, and welcome back to the Work in Progress podcast. With me today, I have Mara Kaela. I'm really excited to hear her story about how she is now using UX in life. So I'm really excited about this. Mara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Mara Kaela. My pronouns are she, her. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Yay! So I guess first things first, would you like to give us the context that we were just talking about a moment ago, like your backstory and how you are where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the origin story was I was going to school for film and television, and basically what happened was I went on a study abroad trip to Italy, and it was fascinating. And I got back to this, while I was in Italy, I realized I had no idea how to nourish my body
Mm-hmm.
health wise. And I ended up having a health crisis in school, dropping out of school, focusing on my health. I ended up getting a job at a health food store, working there for a while. And this became kind of an extension of my education experience, asking people questions, learning about, hey, like, what do you think health is? How do you cultivate that in your life? And I arrived at the conclusion that for me, a originally a raw vegan diet popped out at me, and through years of exploration and experimentation, I arrived at the conclusion that a fruit centric, whole food, plant based diet is the best for me for optimizing my productivity, my mood, my energy levels. And yeah, basically through practicing that internally, and working with people over several years, I've been just supporting people in transitioning into that kind of lifestyle and also integrating aspects from spirituality like astrology for self-knowledge and basically being driven by the purpose, our own unique purpose that I'm convinced that we all have in our lives.
Um, I'm actually kind of on my own health journey right now. I'm last year, this past like 6 months to a year, more like a year, was focused on my mental health, and so this year I'm really looking inward physically. I just have sort of lost my way health-wise, so I'm really excited to get back into it. And um, I'm mostly vegetarian for various reasons. And so, yeah, it's been interesting sort of to transition. And I just actually spoke with a dietitian yesterday, and I'm really excited about that too, just to sort of make sure that I'm hitting all the bases of like my macronutrients and fueling myself, as she described it, in the best way possible. So, yeah. So when we first kind of connected, you mentioned that there are a lot of, I guess, parallels between the lifestyle you're leading and UX. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So my coaching consultation practice definitely went to the next level when I did a user experience design certification. And I realized, like, wow, there's so many parallels between, like, basically when you're designing the user experience for a user, you're doing research and you're figuring out what are their goals and what are their obstacles and how can I basically create an experience to streamline their process from A to B, right?
Hmm.
So when I'm working with people and I'm saying, hey, okay, so I mean, the consultation process is very similar. Like, you're learning, you're doing discovery, you're figuring out, like, hey, what are your goals? What are your obstacles, health challenges, whatever. And I was really fascinated by this idea of user flows. it's basically just forming habit patterns. So
Mm-hmm.
the user flow is basically like, I like, you want this goal, ABC, one, two, three. How do I get to that goal? You literally just install user flows in your life. So you look, for example, um, if you want to feel, so in my experience, if you want to feel like more vital and nourished in your body, I avoid eating like heavier stuff for breakfast. I like to do just more like fruit and juice for breakfast because it is more concentrated in terms of like just pure vitality. I like to think of it in terms of like liquid sunshine, kind of, because it's so close to the sun and it's so vibrant. So it's giving you that like boost of energy without, a lot of times, there can be some added obstruction that happens when it's something that's super heavy, like eating bread in the morning. I
Mm-hmm.
personally can't do that because it makes me feel heavy and lethargic, and it actually is a higher metabolic load. So it's really just, yeah, thinking about yourself as the user and thinking about, okay, how can I experiment? How can I create different iterations of my workflow that is my day and how I choose to nourish myself? And I think like, okay, like first meal, I try this day one. I try meal A, I try meal B for lunch, I try meal C for dinner, and then the next day I reflect and I think, how did I feel after each of those meals? And then, do I want to adjust meal A? Do I want to adjust meal B? And then, I mean, it's a continuous process of evolution. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that parallel is really helpful for people, especially people in the tech space, because it's kind of the process.
Yeah, this thought of like iteration and trying different things. So then, how long did it take you to try these different variations to like come up with for you, fruit and juice is the best way to start your day? I'm still kind of going through this myself, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So early in my vegan journey, I attempted to become raw vegan overnight, which did not work out well. Um,
Imagine.
yeah, I experienced like dizziness, headaches, fatigue, feeling out of it. Naturally, I had to take a few steps back. Um, so I I knew I wanted to be vegan. I knew I felt better when I was vegan. And it actually was when I discovered there's this book called The Mucusless Diet Healing System, and it
Mm-hmm.
kind of breaks down a philosophy, a dietary philosophy, about how the goal of eating is less focused around fueling our body, which is the dominant paradigm right now. And it's more about eliminating the body, eliminating obstruction from the body, and recognizing that the human body kind of naturally, it's an air gas engine and we run on air, and that is what keeps us moving. And so by eliminating obstruction, so eliminating heavy starchy foods that create inflammation, we actually tap into our body's natural ability to energize itself based off of sun and air. um so yeah, just beginning to practice that and beginning to experiment with, oh, okay, so it's a whole transitional methodology, but I noticed just the more I was eating fruits and vegetables, the more I was eating fruits especially, I just noticed myself feeling so much lighter and more energized. So I guess really just like experimenting and just trying it out and continuing to recognize, like, when I start feeling the fatigue from eating just fruit for a day, that doesn't mean I that fruit is the wrong food. It just means that transitionally it makes sense to like have fruit for a certain period of time and then have salad and then have even maybe heavier foods if you'd like. So it's not this like strict only eat fruit for the rest of your life thing. It's more of a, hey, the more we can integrate fruits, the more we can aid the body in elimination of substances that cause inflammation, and then we can, yeah, just feel more vibrant.
Let's see. Do you want to talk more about the business, Align Vegan, or would you like to move into the Starflower project?
Um, I guess I could touch on Align Vegan briefly.
Okay.
So the basically the model with Align Vegan is to create a soul alignment green print. Okay, so looking at your astrology and human design, which are these practices that blend ancient wisdom with modern information, basically, you can look and see so much about. So when you're born, the positioning of the planets is the inverse. It's like the picture the universe is creating when you're being born. So we can use this as a reference to think about, oh, if this planet, Mars, represents this energy of like passion, willpower, and desire, and the constellation that was behind it was this constellation, then you can reflect and gather and speculate that that supports that kind of energy showing up in your life. So through that process, I've been doing deep psychographic user experience research. It's kind of like, oh, what are your goals? What are your needs? What are your preferences? What are you trying to create in your life? Then basically coming up with a sequential meal plan of, hey, this is your goal. You want to be able to, and it's specifically designed for high net worth individuals. So people that have to be making high stakes decisions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to like basically be able to be constantly adapting. You want to be able to go from meeting to meeting to meeting without losing energy. You want to be able to be lucid, present, high energy, and yeah, sharp. So basically, coming up with a meal plan that says, what is your diet right now? And this is a sequential step to get you to perhaps something that is more aligned with your goals. And yeah, this is where it segues into the Starflower app. So after doing this, I realized that I'm one person and I have a limited ability to work with people. And it's pretty,
Mm-hmm.
having a one on one coach is pretty expensive. It's not super accessible to most people. And essentially, I was trying to figure out a way to where how I could expand the impact of my work. And having done the user experience design course, I was thinking, hey, I could just turn this into an app experience. So
Yeah.
right now, I'm really focused on basically just building a team so that we can pitch this to investors. But I'm working on developing like the whole branding setup. That's kind of, I have background in branding as well. Um, Building the brand out, building the what is the core functionality, who does this serve, and all that kind of stuff.
So, how big of a team are you thinking? Like just a few people, or like do you have a lot going on and you need several people? Just out of curiosity.
For sure. I think right now it's probably pretty small. We would keep it pretty small because it's really just about refining the pitch, having proof of
Mm-hmm.
concept, having like the mock-ups, having a structure, a business plan, but not necessarily building all that out,
Yeah.
and then transitioning into more, okay, we actually do want to hire a team of 20 engineers now.
Yeah. Have you done some research on like product market fit? Or I guess do you have like an ideal user or anything like that that you'd be willing to share?
Definitely, yeah. So the ideal user is honestly women in tech. I think women are very intentional about relationships oftentimes. And I think women in tech have this ability to like apply systems in a way that like most women maybe wouldn't think to. And this whole experience is kind of about cultivating a way for you to create a relational operating system kind of for your life. So using human design and astrology and recognizing that there's different compatibility for different people, we can tap into relational coherence. So by letting the technology kind of do the grunt work of filtering through the thousands, millions of people that are in the world, in the country, and focusing on, oh, okay, so who's someone that's going through a similar situation that I'm in, and they have a similar soul makeup. So, like, they have similar astrological placements, maybe they have a similar MBTI typology type. And so, if we're both trying to quit cigarettes and I can find someone that has similar demographics to me, makes similar income to me, live in a similar area as me, and we can just chat online or be accountability partners, I feel like that is what we need as a society.
Yeah, so it's nice because there'll be like an added layer of connection and you likely already know that there are some similarities to your point, like if you're finding people who are going through similar situations or similar, um, I guess, starts to life, if you will. So you already have some similarities and you have a goal in mind. So it'd be really interesting to like find someone similar to me, like maybe somewhere else in the US or somewhere else across the world. I don't know how far you want to go. But yeah, that would be really interesting. So have you I assume you started working on it to some degree since you're sharing this here, but like, how far do you feel like you've gotten in the process?
Yeah, for sure. So right now in the process, and I'm kind of looking at my notes so I can tell you more accurately.
Yeah, no
Um,
progress.
I have brand values pretty much laid out. I could highlight them right now pretty quickly. So the main brand values would be authenticity, transparency, transformation and empowerment, wisdom and discernment, and conscious community. Um, so basically, the whole thing is about using relationships as a tool for self-empowerment and personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
I have the general aesthetics down for how I want the app to look and feel, color palette, typography, the tone of voice that's used. Um, we're calling the ideal user the conscious architect.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, that's a fun name.
yeah, basically a leader and a pioneer, tired of the inefficiency of traditional dating apps and seeking a tool that honors their desire for meaningful data driven connections. Um, yeah, and then the demographics of the conscious collective, the people that will support the architect in optimizing their life. So we have some basic core functionalities documented. I have what the home screen will look like. I have kind of more vision stuff about like what kind of impact do we want this to have on the world and our communities? What's the USP, unique selling proposition, and kind of more about the intention that I have in creating this app. So I'm really looking to partner with more people that want to basically help me refine. Well, first off, that would be interested in working on this because I'm not going to do this myself long term anyway. So I want to already
Mm-hmm.
have those people. So when the money flows in, then it's just like, oh, we already have the core team. It's not like,
Ready to go. Yeah.
yeah, good to go. And then also people that can kind of refine and bring more perspective from other aspects of the tech industry because I am pretty new to the tech industry. Even though I have spent a lot of time keeping up to date with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just people may be more interested in people that have more experience in startup culture, people that have more experience in also venture capital as well.
And so you're actively seeking these folks. Would you like to make an ask here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you are a woman in tech and this sounds like an interesting project for you, definitely please email me alignvegan@gmail.com. I have been posting more information. So all of what I was just kind of scanning.
Mm-hmm.
I made videos that I'm posting on TikTok and LinkedIn. So you can find me there if you want to find out more about it. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And yeah, please reach out.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll make sure to add those links to the show notes. Cool. And then, so I guess to also clarify the ask earlier too, like what sorts of I know you're asking for people all over the tech sphere, specifically who have experience in startup culture and VC. But is there like I assume you need an engineer. I think you mentioned to me that this is an AI related project. So do you need like AI specific folks, or do you know what you need from a tech side yet, generally?
So I'm not super clear on that, but like you mentioned, there are some things. Definitely, it's super AI heavy. So
Hmm.
this is going to be like building a world for the AI to be able to make connections for people, to be able to coach people as well. It's very AI driven.
Okay.
So people that have experience in that, maybe higher education in machine learning stuff. Um, also, so right now at the beginning, I feel like also a fair amount is like marketing people, also like just business structure, like CFO type people to just like establish that. Okay, so how are we going to monetize this?
Hmm.
which I feel like the earning potential of this is super huge. If you can kind of really connect people with soulmates, if you can connect people with tribe, like soul tribe, if you can connect people with relationships that are going to empower them and support them and on their journey to self-actualize, support them on their journey to self-actualize. I just see that being super powerful. And I mean, thinking about whether to include ads in that or just to make it a premium paid offering, who knows?
Hmm.
It could go so
TBD.
many ways. Sorry,
TBD.
TBD, exactly.
Fair enough. Um, so you've got the research from your personal experiences. You've got the research from the UX certificate. And you have a business currently, so like you've done some research on that side of things. And it seems like you've done a lot of work just putting, again, like the vision together and like having a solid, like, this is what I believe. Um, so like what other sorts of research do you feel like you need in order to like move forward? Again, like I know we don't know exactly what kind of tech we need, and so like yeah, sorry, this is kind of a roundabout way of asking like what's next. So finding the team, finding the money. Um,
Yeah, for sure. I love that you mentioned research because research is like my favorite thing. It's probably my favorite part of the UX process.
yeah.
Um, so I've spent a fair amount of time, like personally on dating apps and just looking at dating apps and being like, this just isn't working. Like for some reason, it's just not working. It's not that people aren't using it, it's that it's not working. Like it's not actually connecting people. People
Mm.
aren't actually having quality conversations. Like the percentage of actual conversations that I've had with people on dating apps is just so low compared to the number of matches that I've gotten. And I was really curious about that. And then also just listening to people in their real lives talking about dating apps and how they don't work. Actually, I do know someone that met their partner. They're super happy on a dating app. So I know it
I
can
know a
work.
few too, but it's far and few between to kind of support your point a little bit. Like, I mean, I've been taken for a while, but I've heard, like you said, from anecdotes that like it's rough out there.
Yeah, it is. And even noticing outside of romantic relationships, people being like, how do I find friends? How do I
Hmm.
connect with networks? I'm moving to a new country. I don't know anyone. And I think this really fills a need of this kind of emotional connection void that we find ourselves in due to the heightened stimuli and everything becoming hyper individualized and hyper personalized. And if this isn't exactly what I want, I'm swiping immediately. And
It's that
yeah,
instant gratification too, where it is like relationships don't always work immediately. Like sometimes you have to like take time to find that common ground that I was mentioning earlier when I was sort of envisioning this app. Like it doesn't just come up immediately. Sometimes it does, but relationships take work is ultimately what I'm saying. Like whether it's friends, family, romantic, whatever it is, coworkers, even it takes time.
yeah. And a huge intention of this app is to be the assistant, to be the support, to help people learn and practice where to invest that energy and invest that work. And first, I think a huge overlooked aspect is first you have to invest all that energy in yourself and you have to become really clear on who you are and what do you want and what is your not only like relationship preferences and gender expression, but also what is your like lifestyle? Like, do you want to live in the city? Do you want to live on the beach? Do you want like
Mhm.
and you have to really figure this out and everyone has to kind of know. And yeah, you can be open to a point, but you can't it's so I think and I've experienced this firsthand. It's really easy to get lost in a relationship and it's really easy to just kind of be like, "Oh, maybe this person is a sign that I do want to live on the beach," when honestly I have no intention of doing that. So, and that was just an example. I don't know, maybe I would live on the beach.
Who knows? No, but that's a good point though. And kind of going back to what I said earlier about my own journey, like starting with mental health has really meant a lot of like gaining my self-awareness and like how do I show up in the world and like learning a lot about that has transformed a lot of how I interact with like everyone really. Um, and not just from like the mental health side of things, but just like learning more about yourself is very powerful. And then yeah, can open you up to what you really want to have happen next, whatever that may be. Yeah, that's a good point. Do you intend this to be like more global? I just assumed because, everything that's tech related seems to it crosses boundaries quite easily. So yeah, do you intend this to be worldwide one day, or how do you feel about that?
Definitely. I think everyone has the right to have satisfying relationships. And of course, it would start very targeted to optimize and refine the process, but I definitely see it going global and being able to connect people on a much deeper level, like looking at apps like Facebook, like, yeah, it's global and people are connected and you see people. And to me, it's very shallow and it's very surface, and that
Mhm.
has served its purpose. And I just feel like, okay, like we have AI, we have the technology, it's just sitting there, let's use it.
Yeah, fair enough. So before we leave today, if the audience or the listeners or whomever's hanging out here, um, remembers nothing else from this conversation, what is the one thing that you would like them to walk away with?
I guess it would be like we become the people that we spend the most time around, and the more intentional we can be about those people, and the more tools that we can have to nurture the relationships that we have with those people that we do want to be around, the more satisfying our lives will be. And it's okay to have an amazing, satisfying life.
I like that. Um, it's surprising how many people need permission to have that. Um, well, cool. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mara. It was a fun, enlightening, and different experience from the usual like tech conversation. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That's it for this commit of the Work in Progress podcast. If you liked it, please hit follow, leave a review, or share it with another human who's figuring things out too. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and keep showing up, even if it's still a draft. Until next time, keep iterating.